Hello, trumpet players. In this video, I want to talk to you about something I said in the last Q&A video. Um, I do a live stream Q&A every week, almost every week, not every week, but almost every week. And in that video, I said something about when you're sight reading, um, we don't try to look ahead. I want to clarify that because some of you thought that I said, don't look ahead. And that's not what I said. Okay, so let's dive into this topic in a little bit greater detail. And before we do that, I want to invite you to our weekly Q&A. It's at 1:30 on Fridays. Most Fridays. 1:30, this is 1:30 Houston time. And I have a WhatsApp group that if you want to be notified when we do and when we don't, that's what I use the WhatsApp group for. And you can get that by clicking on any of the old Q&A videos or go to my website and go to the Q&A page there. Anyway, so if you're not part of that conversation and would like to be, come join us. You can watch all of them afterwards. You don't have to be there live. And you can ask your questions beforehand if you can't be with us live to be there, right? To do that. So yes, I do invite you to come out and join us. Looking ahead when you sight read. There was a study that I saw. Maybe we don't call this a study. Maybe we do. I don't know. I saw this maybe in the early 90s when they first were able to track where the eye is looking on a piece of paper. And someone did this with a musician, I think a piano player, and they had the music up there and they had the device connected to the head and all that stuff. And what they discovered was that a great piano player's eyes will scan the page back and forth like this while they're playing. So it's not technically correct to say that they're looking ahead because that gives us the impression, and if you guys were anything like me, when I was told to look ahead as an up-and-coming brass student, band student, right? I was told that you're looking at notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures ahead while you're playing the notes back here. And that's a misrepresentation of what's really happening. What's really happening is that the eyes scan back and forth, back and forth, back and forth the whole time you're playing. And in fact, if you were to just stare at the notes, in other words, stationary, if you were to just stare at the notes in front of you, I'm sure most of you, it would, like me, it would cause you to screw up. So it's not accurate that we don't look ahead. We do look ahead. And it's not accurate that we do look ahead. It's sort of like we're looking at everything at once, scanning back and forth, scanning back and forth. And I like to use, as an analogy, traffic. And we're going to take that traffic thing one step farther. If you have to cross the street, or cross the freeway, you're going to look at the cars that are coming. But you also have to look ahead of you, right? You have to look, if you need to cross the freeway, you look at where you are now, you look over there, you have to keep looking back and forth to safely get across. Because what happens if there's a pothole? What happens if there's a big branch in the middle of the road? If you were to fall over, in the middle of the road with all that traffic coming, you could get run over. So you have to be aware of where you're going, but also look at what's coming. That's what sight reading is like. That's what sight reading is like. Let's take it another step. Because, you know, when I first started talking about this, the traffic thing, it brought to my memory, was it called Frogger? The video game that we played long, long ago, Frogger, where there were rivers with logs and traffic and everything going back and forth and all that. And the idea of Frogger was you were supposed to jump around, trying not to get squashed, trying not to get uh, eaten by the alligator, stuff like that. Um, and I have a question for you. When you were playing Frogger, did someone have to tell you, look ahead? Did someone have to tell you, don't just look at where you are, also look at the traffic that's coming, also look where the alligator is? Did someone have to tell you that? Right? Um, no, I'm betting not. When you cross the freeway, did someone have to tell you to look at the cars? No, I'm betting not. What's another game that was like that? Guitar Hero, right? Is there when you played guitar? I've never played Guitar Hero, but I've seen people play it. Um, does someone have to tell you to look ahead? I'm betting not. I remember the first video game I ever played. I used to live in Worthington, Pennsylvania, and our next door neighbors, Dave and Dan, I forget the girl's name, but Dave and Dan, they were twins. Um, I believe they were twins. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so Dave and Dan had one of the first Ataris to come out, and there was a car game. I was very good at the car game, right? Driving through race car traffic, right? Did someone have to tell me to look ahead? So my point here is that it's not that we don't look ahead. It's that we don't try to look ahead. It's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. It just happens. And this is typical. This problem with the looking ahead thing is typical of academic music education. Now, don't get me wrong. Every time I talk about this, I acknowledge that most of who I am as a teacher comes from academia. I am grateful for the education I got, but I am also unafraid to challenge the things that are not true, and also, even more so, challenge the things that actually hurt the students. And when I say hurt the students, I'm talking about in the context of getting better on their instruments. This look ahead thing is one of those things. And this is the way I see academia, where they get it wrong. Okay? This is how I can summarize just about everything that academia gets wrong. They observe that this is what the successful players do, and then they tell you that you need to do that. But what they tell you, and this is a perfect example, yes, we do look ahead. When you try to look ahead, it screws that process up. It makes you take longer to get to where you look ahead. In fact, I don't think anybody should ever even talk about looking ahead, because it's a natural process that just happens without any of our effort. And like I said, this is the kind of thing that academia gets wrong every single time. This process of looking ahead is natural. We're going to talk about how to foster that in your own trumpet playing time. But right now, I just want to point it out. You know, there's so many of these. The relaxed thing, what do they call it? No body tension is another academic myth of misapplied observation. And so we apply that same fault that I'm talking about with this looking ahead stuff. And they say, oh, look, this guy's so relaxed. This guy over here is not as relaxed. This guy over here has tension. Stop the body tension. Stop it. That's not how it works. You cannot take your observation and force it on somebody. This thing of no body tension is an observation. Trying to force that observation in an unnatural way on other people does not work. There's a whole bunch of these, a whole bunch of them. Jazz, by the way, is full of them. Jazz is riddled. Jazz improvisation, I don't mean jazz when like I can play a swing song. I mean the improv stuff. Jazz, in the jazz education world, jazz is riddled with these falsehoods that we say to the students that make it harder for them to improvise. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is to show you where this look ahead nonsense comes from. All the look ahead thing does is screw students up. And I'm going to go back to that research thing. We don't look ahead, we scan back and forth. But let me clarify that. We don't try to scan back and forth. That would be another misapplication of an observation. We don't try to scan back and forth. We do things in our practice time that foster that kind of scanning. We do things in our practice time. And the one thing, there's two things that they're almost the same. We're going to talk about both of them at the end of this video. So yes, in fact, that's now. I'm looking at my list and we're at the end of my points. Let's talk now about how you, and in a sense, by answering this question, how do you foster the better scanning? You are answering the question, how do I become a better sight reader? You practice, there's two things. Number one, practice sight reading slowly. Practice sight reading slowly. You have to practice it slowly enough that you get every note right. Practice sight reading slowly, and you have to do a bunch of it. I'm not talking about you sight read something slowly once and now your eyes are doing what they're supposed to do. No. Think about the games that we're talking about. All of them start off simple. Every game starts off simple, and in a sense, That game, that simplicity of the first levels of the game are helping you train your ability to look ahead. Your practice time has to be like those games. Start off simple. So if you have a piece you want to sight read it slow. There is no benefit. There absolutely no benefit at all when we're practicing. Now, it's different when you're like in an ensemble. That's different. I do believe in ensemble pushing it. Assuming that you've been practicing sight reading on your own. Okay? Assuming that. Then yes, I do approve of the conductor saying, let's sight read this real fast. That I'm all in favor of. There is benefit to that. Okay? Now there's also, in the ensemble setting, there's also benefit to sight reading slowly too, for the same reasons as why we do it in the lesson. But I do think that ensemble work is different in that regard. Okay, so yes, whatever it is that you're sight reading, do it well beneath the tempo that you need to get all the notes right. And I'm gonna tell you that story that I read in Robert Wiest's book. He was talking about a lesson that he had with Maurice Andre. It was his first time going through the piece, and he got through the piece, and Maurice Andre said to him, I don't think I would have played it that fast the first time through. And think about what we're saying here. Maurice Andre at the time was widely considered the best trumpet player in the world. And the best trumpet player in the world is telling his student, I don't think I would have played it that fast the first time. Huh? And what did he say? He followed it up by saying, I don't have time in my busy schedule to work out all the mistakes I made if I went through it that fast. Now, that's not what we're talking about now, but I think that's important. Even Maurice Andre was doing what I'm talking about here. Because you guys know I'm a big proponent of practicing slow. A big advocate of practicing slow. So what's number 2? Number 2 is spending time sight reading music that's beneath your skill level. I had a student today. She is not a beginner. Far from it. I had a student today, and we sight read out of my Trumpet Pioneer Duets book. She nailed it. She nailed it. She got every note, every rhythm correct. But that's the kind of sort of thing that you do to foster the eyes. And by the way, I don't mind, what's that people call, when you advertise, I forget the word. I don't mind advertising my videos on my channel, right? I have some play-along videos that start. I was telling the student today, one of the big differences between my play-along videos and the other play-along videos on YouTube is how many beginner-level play-alongs I have. Dozens of them, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And it's if you struggle at all with sight reading, you can go to my easiest videos in that series and use them for sight reading. And they should be most of you that are watching this are not beginners. So those videos would be way beneath your level. But you would be It's just like playing the video games where you are starting off at that lowest level. Sight reading is one of those things that you want you do the easy stuff so that your mind can get used to doing the scanning that it has to do. And after a while, it's not really sight reading, because if you keep hitting it at the beginning every time, that's what I do recommend, by the way. Start at the very first one, let it roll through so that you're doing all of them in order, and just sight read those easiest ones. You will get more benefit. I promise you. You will get more benefit as it applies to your sight reading by sight reading my easiest play-alongs than you would if you sight read stuff that was at your current level. You will get far more benefit that way. Sight reading the easy stuff. Okay? So that's number two. Number one, I'm gonna refresh. Number one is, when you do sight read stuff at your skill level, sight read it slowly. If it has to be ridiculously slow, then do it ridiculously slow. And number two is sight read music that is beneath your skill level. It's counterintuitive. In the band world, and I think this is a cultural thing, we keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. It's kind of funny. There's a trumpet player that's got YouTube videos and puts those annoying ads on Facebook. And I've been talking, there's actually half a dozen of them. They are very annoying. But I watched one of these guys' videos this week. And he was talking about a concept that I teach all the time, have been teaching for decades. He says, are you pushing too hard? Now, I have what he was talking about built into my system. He's kind of presenting it as something you can do occasionally. It's built into my system. We call it range limiting, and he even used the terms range limiting, which kind of hints that maybe he's watching my videos or reading my books, because that's a term I came up with. Now, other people can easily come up with the same term, but it's quite possible that he's been influenced by what I teach. And if that's actually the case, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of the fact that people are learning and benefiting from what I teach. Now, it's possible that's not the case. It's possible he came up with that term by himself or from somebody else or whatever. Anyway, my point is that even he acknowledged, this guy that previously annoyed me so much, even he acknowledged that there's benefit to pulling back. I think he still misses the point a little bit, because it's not just about the skill level. And I did emphasize skill level here. There's a whole bunch that goes on when you play music that's easier than what you're capable of. There's a whole bunch of very positive stuff that happens when you play music you can already play. And this is another one of those myths that people in academia throw around. They say you're wasting your time if you practice what you can already play. And it took me a long time to unlearn that. That is not true. You actually gain more benefit when you practice what you can play. And in fact, I will go as far as to say that if you take the philosophy of never practicing what you can play and only practicing what you can't play, if you take that and apply it as a philosophy to everything you do, you will always be a crappy player. Pardon that word, I'm sorry. But it's true. If you only ever practice what you cannot play. Now, I don't believe people do that. I think they try to, but there's no way they would become great players. And there's great players that teach this. There's great players that teach this. I seriously doubt they actually do what they teach. I seriously doubt. I bet if you dug into it, you would find many examples of them practicing what they can already play. And to get back to the point, there are mental benefits. So many, I can't list them here. There are mental benefits to going beneath your skill level and playing that. And this is keeping it to the subject. This applies to sight reading. Always sight read beneath your skill level until you get into the ensemble. Because those skills, you guys hear me talking all the time about how subconscious all this is. That skill of scanning the page is not conscious. When you're playing Frogger or Guitar Hero or whatever, you didn't have to think, let me scan my eye back and forth. You didn't have to think that. You didn't have to try to make yourself do that. It's subconscious. It's automatic. And when you try to do that intentionally, it doesn't work. We weren't designed to function that way. We weren't designed. This is where the other thing that people are really into today is that mindfulness. My understanding of how mindfulness works is that you make yourself do the scanning. You make yourself look ahead. You make yourself do the stuff that you're supposed to, because it's more intentional, right? I'm going to tell you, if that's how you're practicing, you might as well not practice at all. I would rather, if I have a student that wants to control everything, I would rather than just spend their practice time playing the songs they love. That's going to make them better players than what they think is practicing. And seriously, I actually assign this sometimes. I'll tell them, stop all of it. Stop all of it. And just start playing the songs you like. Spend your practice time. Now, is that real practice? No, that's not real practice. Is it beneficial? If you're practicing that other way, it's a lot more beneficial than that kind of practice. I know this is controversial because I'm going against, 200 years of practice wisdom. I'm going against that. But yes, we need to. I have a lesson. I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless you. I gotta go teach. Bye.